everybody, and welcome to this new edition of Eco Africa. Today we'll be talking a lot about the ground and the soil, and the main question is how can we use these vital resources sustainably? My name is Sandra Twinobdio, coming to you from Kampala here in Uganda, and with me as always is my colleague Chris Elems all the way from Nigeria.
Thank you, Sandra, and a cheerful hello from me too. That's right, we'll look into areas where agriculture is barely possible anymore and investigate land which contains valuable natural resources. Also coming up in the program, how traditional adobe building in Mali is being revived, and how fertilizer can be made using human hair. Drought, exhausted soil, and non-stop population growth. Now, these are just three factors that make farming more and more difficult in Africa. And here, the Sahel countries such as West African Burkina Faso are the hardest hit. Nearly 90% of the population there depends on agriculture. But what if the soils there are barely viable? A businesswoman in the capital, Ouagadougou, has developed an alternative.
Water and coconut coir. It's all that's needed to grow green beans and tomatoes. In Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, farmers from several African countries are learning how to farm without soil. Ajaratu Sanogo began using hydroponics some years back after noticing that vegetable supplies in the city's markets ran short at certain times of the year. Farmers here have been working in a traditional manner since time immemorial, but the soils are in a poor state and harvests are dwindling. Many of the farmers can't even feed themselves anymore, let alone sell their crops. I think this method is better. You buy the basics and then grow more produce. Experts fear that agricultural yields in the Sahel region will go down by 30%. In response, Ajaratu Sanogo has set up a training center with international support. She wants to pass on her knowledge to others. The course is fully booked up. Word has even got out to people in neighboring countries like Mali, Chad or Congo, thanks to her use of social media. The participants have a mix of business and personal interests. I'm taking part in the course because I want to be able to grow organic food for me and my family at any time of the year. With hydroponics, you are not reliant on the seasons. You can harvest all year round. With the help of hydroponics, the trainees can learn to grow larger vegetables more quickly. For this special training, they pay the equivalent of 10 euros. Many of them take more courses, stay longer, and pay more. We chose to make the full training course 4 months long because it takes roughly 4 months from planting to harvest. That way, they get to know all the stages of production. Both theory and practice are vital. Clay pellets, coconut fiber, or organic compost are all organic substrates that can be used instead of soil. In the greenhouse, tomatoes can also grow during the rainy season and can be picked regularly. Soon, tomatoes, onions, and chili peppers will be on their way to an organic store. A local cooperative sells produce to environmentally conscious customers here. To ensure the organic farmers also get their fair recompense for their work, you need to have a retail channel for organic vegetables. The farmers aren't just protecting the environment by using organic methods and products, but they are also protecting their own health and the health of consumers by using these means. But organic produce is too expensive for many city dwellers. They still grow their own food if they can. There are small areas in the city set aside for this purpose, but municipality is afraid that they are disappearing. Experts expect the number of inhabitants to double in the next 10 years. However, waste disposal companies would also profit as they could provide organic compost for the new planting method.
L'agriculture hors sol offre beaucoup d'avantages pour le Burkina.
Hydroponic farming offers Burkina Faso a lot of benefits, particularly given the problems we face. We can grow more and far more diverse crops. The farmers would also earn more using this method. At the same time, it would also allow us to recycle a lot of urban waste, solid and liquid. That would make the city cleaner and greener. Climate researchers in West Africa also confirm that no cultivation methods are urgently needed. Increasing desertification has reduced the amount of arable land, shifting the zone where cultivation is possible between 30 and 150 kilometers further south. There is a direct link between agricultural production and food security. We need solutions, such as the so-called smart farming, that can adapt to the climate. This allows us to secure food supplies for our people and take them out of the vicious circle of climate risks and poverty. Ajara to Sanogo's training course is going in the right direction. Budding farmers like Damute Kibangu say they will definitely put their new knowledge to use. I'm going home, where I'm hoping to set up a small greenhouse. That's 30 square meters in size, or even 50. In the long term, I'd like to put into practice everything that we are learning here in my homeland, the Democratic Republic of Congo. The initiative has now started giving courses in 20 rural communities. Ajara to Sanogo has connected farmers via social media to create one virtual cooperative, thus making sure that healthy produce can be available in many more places across Burkina Faso.
In Tanzania, they found a new way to help the plants and the soil, and people provide the raw materials for it. No, I'm not talking about human waste. We're talking about the hair on our heads. And I'm not kidding. Here's this week's Doing Your Bit.
Thousands of kilograms of hair end up in the trash every month in Arusha. But 2 Tanzanian students thought that was a waste, so they collect the cuttings in hair salons to recycle. Because human hair contains nutrients that can be used to fertilize plants. They spent 3 months testing different methods in a lab. Finally, they treated the hair with potassium hydroxide.
It breaks the peptide bonds in hair and turns that hair into liquid form. Now all those nutrients, the oxygen, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, carbon, which are in hair, which is amino acid, is then readily available in that liquid and can be used in plants.
Just 50 grams of hair mixed with water and potassium hydroxide produces a liter of the liquid fertilizer concentrate. 1 liter costs the equivalent of 80 euro cents. So far, they have 8 customers. This tomato farmer was one of their first.
I've seen my productivity increase by 25%. So let's say I was harvesting 60 trays. Now I have 15 more trays.
To market their fertilizer on a larger scale, they need official organic certification. It's a lengthy and expensive process, but the founders are embarking on it.
And how about you? If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
Our next piece looks into resources that cannot simply grow back or in many cases even be recycled. For example, some of the raw materials that we need for our electronic devices, the transition to green energy, or the automobile industry.
That is right, Chris, and in many cases, these resources are not freely and fairly accessible. Many countries exploit their natural resources without considering their people or the environment, and they create dependencies that can lead to conflicts and crises. In Europe, geologists want to find these critical resources and extract them more sustainably.
A team of geologists in Norway get to work. They've been commissioned by a company called Norge Mining to search for critical raw materials, right here in Northern Europe. First, they need to take samples.
Saw lines is really nice made actually here, because you can see like the thickness of them is pretty good for the ore we're looking for.
Back at the research camp, the team examines hundreds of drill samples every month.
We can see some of the mineralization here. These more mafic bands that we're looking at, which is where the higher grade mineralization is. Obviously titanium, vanadium and phosphorus that we're looking at.
Yeah, because there's X-ray.
Phosphorus is an essential raw material used in fertilizer. The large deposits of vanadium, on the other hand, can be used in huge batteries that store energy within electrical power grids. Both elements are considered critical raw materials, along with a range of others such as lithium, rare earths or graphite. But where does the term critical raw material come from? A question we put to the founder of the mining company.
Critical raw materials is a terminology which is basically comes from Europe, has been invented by the EU, because the Europeans are dependent until today, so is the globe, particularly from supply from China, and which is about 62%.
These raw materials are important for renewable energies, which are needed to stop global warming. So right now, achieving global climate goals depends on Chinese raw materials. Take lithium mining, like here in California. Lithium is used in batteries for electric cars. Copper is another critical raw material that's in high demand, owing to its use in electric vehicles and generators. China recognized the signs of the times early on. Now Europe is playing catch-up.
Green and digital technologies currently depend on a number of scarce raw materials. We import lithium for electric cars, platinum to produce clean hydrogen, silicon metal for solar panels. 98% of the rare earth elements we need come from a single supplier, China. This is why we have proposed to create a European Raw Materials Alliance.
The EU has committed to reducing its carbon emissions by 60% over the next 2 decades. So, a Europe-wide consortium of companies with headquarters in Berlin has been charged with addressing the issue of raw materials.
The European Raw Materials Alliance has one mandate. It has the mandate to protect Europe from any kind of supply interruption of raw materials, and in particular critical raw materials. And in this context, of course, our role is first and foremost understanding the pattern and the mix of the raw materials. And here the role is identifying respective companies that have the willingness and the capability to invest into raw material topics that can help closing the gap that we were just talking about.
It will likely take 10 to 35 billion euros of investment to mine the necessary raw materials. So companies like Norge Mining that are funding themselves are especially welcome.
If you find a good project, you have the investors at hand. It is very intriguing what we're doing. It's very exciting because it's not only a mining project as such, it has become a geopolitical and a geostrategic thing.
But it often takes up to 20 years to build a mine, starting from the initial phase of exploration. Norge Mining says it already has enough funding from investors and hopes to start mining much sooner. For the European Union, it can't come soon enough.
Now, from rare earths and minerals to more common ground, such as loam, this mixture of sand, silt and clay is abundant in many soils and has been used in building for more than 9,000 years, especially in Africa. The world's largest mud brick structure, the Great Mosque of Djenné in Mali, is a world-famous example. But is this type of construction a thing of the past No, it is one with a bright future and an initiative in Mali shows.
Mortar made from mud is what holds the mud bricks together. When it's finished, it'll make a nice cool home for Musa Suboa's parents. The bricklayer spent 2 years on various building sites in Mali, learning this house building technique. In the meantime, he's been so successful that he's taken on 2 people to help him. This season, he's already built 15 mud brick homes. More orders are expected.
With the results and the work we've done this year, I think we'll be able to build between 40 to 60 buildings of this kind. With the people who have already expressed an interest, the people here have learned to appreciate this type of construction.
In part because family members can help with the building, making construction cheaper. These apartments cost around 180 euros, money that the families usually can lend to one another. For Musa Sogoba, there's also another aspect that counts.
If I consider all the houses I've built here in Diaramana, we have also avoided felling trees because we don't need wooden scaffolding for construction.
Mali loses around 100,000 hectares of forest a year, according to the country's Environment Ministry. The landscape here is arid and bare. Most of the trees are felled for fuel or building. Social entrepreneur Thomas Granier has founded the NGO the Nubian Vault, named after this type of traditional mud brick architecture. The organization is active in 6 West African countries. For 20 years, the project has been trying to convince people in rural areas of the benefits of this eco-friendly construction technique.
We are simply using the resources of our organization and the market to create social societal value by boosting the local economy, creating better living conditions, and finding answers to climate change.
Today, a women's cooperative in Segur is discussing building an agricultural warehouse. Such storehouses have already proved successful elsewhere in Mali. Some of the women have questions about the construction. Others ask about the cost and the help provided.
Everyone makes the mud bricks. You can make 100 to 200 bricks a day, sometimes more. That way it's a lot quicker. All our clients here in the country are helped by their families, but also the community, friends or other villagers.
In Beleko, they've already built a vegetable storehouse. In the past, the people here often used to lose about half their harvest. In the Nubian Vault, onions and potatoes can be stored in cool, dark conditions. They can now sell their produce at market all year round.
We used to store our onions on our land, protected just by corrugated iron. Almost all of them went bad. In this building, the irons don't rot like they did before. Back then, we earned nothing. Nowadays, nothing goes bad.
The NGO has completed almost 80% more building projects in Mali during this dry season than in previous years. Building authorities in the country have become aware of this eco-friendly architecture, but the idea to introduce the practice to the cities is not working.
In the town, we face completely different challenges. Where do we dig the holes to get the mud, for instance? And then we have to consider the structural issues more closely to ensure that these apartments are safe and meet city requirements. The construction also needs more space.
Back in Diaramana, in just a couple of days, Musa Sagoba's parents' house will be finished. He tells us that he and the other villagers used to go to work in the city after the harvest was over because there were no other ways of making money. Now, some even stay home to train with the project. More than 1,500 people in West Africa have learned this sustainable mud brick building technique with the help of the NGO. And each new mud brick house is eco-friendly and offers the opportunity of better living conditions.
In Rwanda, environmentalists are worried about the decline of bats living in the Lake Kivu region. The scary little creatures are hunted and lose more and more of their natural habitat. And even if bats may be making negative headlines as a result of the diseases they can carry, they do play an important part in the ecosystem, which is why the Rwandan Wildlife Conservation Authority is sharing that message with school kids and the local communities.
Swarms of bats swoop over the Rwandan town of Ruhango. The winged creatures are far from popular here. Many residents are afraid of them and believe they bring bad luck. This tree is being cut down to deprive them of a place to live. An action that has the support of many locals. These bats go into our farms for food, damaging what we have grown. You can start in this woodland and see what condition it's in. So it's better not to see them here. Conservationists like biologist Marie-Claire Dusabe take a different view. They say bats play an important ecological role by spreading seeds in their droppings. Ruhango is home to the straw-colored fruit bat, a species that is under threat. Dusabe's team estimates there are some 17,000 of them here.
The number of straw-colored fruit bats are decreasing because we have been finding people cutting down trees as landowners. For example, you can see someone there cutting down a tree. So if they cut down trees, bats tend to go outside of this colony.
The total bat population in Rwanda is estimated at 70,000, spread across 15 different colonies. One of them is in the Samatare cave, some 60 kilometers outside the capital, Kigali. The site is located near water and is difficult to access. Even in non-pandemic times, you'd have to wear a mask here to protect yourself from the viruses bats carry. The cave is home to the bulldog bat. Especially active at night, their diet consists mainly of insects. An examination of their droppings yields more information.
These insectivorous bats, they really contribute a lot to agriculture sectors while destroying insect pests. For example, here in east of Rwanda, we found that 60% of the diet of this species are insect pests that destroy agriculture crop pests.
Back to Ruhango in the south of the country. At this school, today's biology class has a special focus. Marie-Claire Dusabe is explaining how important bats are for people. Many of the pupils appear surprised. Still, there are some well-founded fears of bats, especially when they get close to people. We understand that bats are very important in nature, but how can we live with them in our homes? Knowing that they carry viruses, as they often come to live in the roofs of our homes. Do everything possible and let it go peacefully. And then you have to check if it has left anything somewhere. Then clean without touching it. Those working to protect the bats use gloves to collect their droppings. They contain fruit seeds, giving the researchers an insight into the plants and trees the animals are especially fond of. These are then cultivated in tree nurseries to be replanted later in the region around Lake Kivu.
Some of these trees are a result of seeds that came from bat poop. We plant them here because we want to contribute to bat foraging site and root site.
The idea is to compensate the bats for the living space humans have deprived them of elsewhere.
Well, that's all from us today. I am Sandra Twinobdio, signing off from Kampala here in Uganda.
Thanks, Sandra. And that's right. Every little bit counts. Each individual can contribute to good solutions. For more ideas, follow us on social media. I am Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria. Please be sure to tune in again next week. Until then, take care.